This is Hannibal here from the Hannibal TV on YouTube with a special memorial episode to none other than Hulk Hogan, WWE Hall of Famer, movie star, probably the best drawing wrestler of at least the past 40-ish years, possibly of all time, and one of his biggest fans, if not his biggest fan, from the two-man power trip of wrestling historian slash podcaster, Dr. John Paz. How are you handling the week, Johnny?
Pretty upset actually. Not a great week here as far as the passing of the immortal Hulk Hogan. Never thought it would happen. Oddly enough, you just never think about it. You just you grew up with the Hulkster through the 1980s. He was a god in the 90s. It just crazy stuff. But pretty upset about the Hulkster still. R.I.P. Of course.
Yeah, I mean, we knew something was wrong with them, those that were following the
Yeah.
situation. We were hoping that it wasn't as bad as Bubba was alluding to, which I don't even think thought it was this bad at that point because he seemed to be backing off on his original claim that Hogan, for a while he was saying Hogan's on death door, and then the last update I heard from Bubba was which was just a couple days before Hogan died. He had changed his tune and said Hogan had basically been brought to his house where a doctor was visiting him because they had pretty much done all they were going to do for him at the hospital, but he still needed to be under somewhat doctor's care. So the doctors were supposedly going to be checking in on him at home. And according to Bubba, they did a big midnight move of Hogan to get him out of the hospital, which I have to assume he has some inside contacts being,
Yeah.
because isn't he like one of the top DJs in Tampa?
Yeah, and he always had obviously a relationship with Hogan, but he always had relationship with Hogan's inner circle. So he always knew something or knew somebody, just as far as the Hulkster.
Yeah. What do you think of Beefcake going around doing interviews? And I noticed, I know they had a bad falling out, but when they're doing the interviews with him, he's acting like he was friends with him the whole time. I guess he doesn't have a choice, really, at this point, than to drop the grudges.
Yeah, I feel like he just dropped the grudge. I feel like, and he was, just kind of like maybe forgiving the Hulkster, or maybe the Hulkster forgave him, and he's just like letting it go now that he passed away. He's probably really upset about it. And sometimes, when people pass away, you kind of realize, like, man, should I have been fighting with the whole time? I wish I was agreeing. I wish we had more time together. So I'm sure all those thoughts are going through Beefcake's head. I was okay with it just because obviously they were boys for forever.
Little Cherry, we did see Giant Gonzalez against Hulk Hogan on Thunder in Paradise. I remember that
Yes,
episode well.
yes. But you remember the summer of '93? Remember they had that stare down at that house show, that infamous picture of them together, which you think
Yes.
was going to lead into SummerSlam '93. That would have been an awesome, co-headliner, and it would have been Hogan against another giant. That would have been cool. But you're right. At least we did get it on Thunder in Paradise.
And just for Beefcake, there, do you think he made the right decision siding with his wife over Hogan? Because it seems like, I mean, he was always the number one best friend, and I guess Jimmy Hart ended up kind of taking that place over. And it just seems like I don't know if he made the right decision in the end.
To me, obviously, I would say no, he did. But you have to side with your wife, and you have to go in that direction if you want to, stay in that relationship, for sure. So, yeah, in my mind, no, but obviously in his mind, yes, and you got to stick with your wife. But to me, slippery slope for sure.
Ibsen, the news on the new promotion is I guess they've scaled down the setup because it's a 14,000 arena. They've scaled it down to 2,700. And I think Kurt Angle is going to be, from what I understand, what people are reporting, he's going to kind of like come in, and he was just going to be a commentator, but I guess he's going to be kind of the face of the
Yeah, it's going to be like the
promotion
new
now.
the new spokesman, hey, they sold 1,100 tickets. That jumped up. So, at least they, maybe getting halfway there to 2,700. But it is freestyle wrestling. Everyone's kind of like getting on Eric because, Eric gets on Tony Khan and stuff about AEW tickets. So everyone's getting on it. But it's freestyle wrestling. It's a lot different. It's the first show. I mean, it's a whole new ball game. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do. But I was kind of shocked. I was like, wow, they jumped up to 1,100 tickets. So, maybe the passing of Hulk is, it kind of helped them in a weird way.
Well, yeah, I think that because that'll probably end up being kind of like a memorial event to him. I would assume.
Yeah. Yep. But it's almost like his beat shop. If you go to his website for the beat shop, there's a 3-week delay. So, I mean, obviously people are getting their Hogan merch. The shop is stocking up on it. So people are getting their Hogan merch right now.
Are you disappointed that he never did that last Saturday night's main event that he was going to do? I guess was a couple times ago. There was various rumors. The official reason was even though he was advertised almost right up until the end, apparently Nick got married as if they wouldn't have known that in advance. But there was also rumblings that him and Jesse Ventura really didn't want to see each other. I don't know if we'll ever get the real story on what happened there, but it's too bad he didn't get a better send off because I truly believe one of the reasons he had those boos was because all he was doing that night was promoting the beer, and they'd already sat through a bunch of promos about Netflix, and it's like, oh, here's another meaningless promo. Like if it had been a run-in or something, I don't know if he would have necessarily had that reaction.
Yes, plus he just supported Trump, and California is a bunch of liberals, so that's probably not good either. And then he kept kind of going on promoting the beer. So, yeah, weird situation. Yeah, that kind of sucks, really, looking back. Just not a fan of those fans, really, and their reaction. But that does suck. But it's that nice main event. That should have happened, could have happened. And that's kind of like a flimsy excuse with Nick. Obviously, they would have known about that way ahead of time. But I feel like maybe him and Jesse the Body, they didn't want to ruffle feathers there. And I guess Hogan really didn't have a problem with not showing. But one of those things where probably just didn't want to ruffle feathers and just disturb the peace there in WWE.
And I know you're friends with Jesse the Body, but I think there was some interest when he first came back in, but I think that interest, like the newness of Jesse returning, is kind of cooled off at this point now. And I
Yeah.
understand they're like he's just doing the intros now. He's not
Yes.
actually commentating.
Yep. Yeah, I guess it one of those things where maybe nostalgia wore off a little bit, but I still love it. I'm still a huge fan of Jesse the Body, huge mark for Jesse the Body. So I love when he's on there, and the nostalgia of it just gets to me every time. But I guess maybe it's maybe ran its course just a little bit because they've had what 3 or 4 of them so far. The Saturday night main event shows.
Yeah, which we won't get off the topic, but the last one with Goldberg was surprisingly a flop. But we kind of predicted that because the real Goldberg fans knew what the outcome was going to be. But my favorite Goldberg match was the Hogan Goldberg match. I would say I know yours was the Steiner, but I really liked
Yep.
the Goldberg Hogan match.
Yeah, and shows you right then and there when people complain about Hulk not putting guys over. Put over Goldberg clean as a whistle in front of
Yeah.
41,000 in Atlanta, Georgia that night on Monday Nitro.
And it went longer and it was better done. I didn't. There was anyway. There's nothing I really liked about the Gunther match. I don't. Well, he carried Goldberg through 13 minutes or whatever, but he didn't have to go 13 minutes. Why go 13 minutes just for the sake of going 13 minutes?
I wonder if it had to do with Rollins injured earlier in the night. I wonder if they were like, "Hey, by the way, we need you to go an extra 5, or maybe go an
Yeah,
extra 7 or something." I have a feeling that might have played a part in it.
we're still hearing many stories on the Rollins injury though, so I don't
Yeah, it's
know.
so weird. There's no definitive answer, injured or not. So interesting.
Ibsen, is Hogan's thing coming to South Jersey? I would imagine a lot of it's going to have to do with the success of the first one. But
Yeah, I'm not really.
supposedly, what they want to run once a month, apparently.
Yeah, but I'm not really too sure on that at all. But I saw the modern day cowboy Mitch Miller was saying that something about the beer selling well. I saw that he had wrote. Yes, I heard that as well. I've actually had the beer before. Great stuff. If you like Miller Lite, that is, it's great stuff. And I'm a big fan of Miller Lite because it's literally Miller Lite just with his awesome label on it, the awesome WrestleMania 7 label on it.
The King of Connecticut also tried it and liked it. He's, by the way, Matthew Granahan, wherever you are, I hope you're all right. He's kind of like disappeared
Yes, I was thinking
For
about that yesterday because I thought I would reach out to him about the Hulkster. I hadn't heard back from him. I wonder what's going on.
Yeah, and one of his friends contacted me recently and said, "Have you heard anything from him? Because I've been trying to reach him and nothing." So I really hope he's all right wherever he is, because it's not like the Matthew the Granahan to not be talking, especially with the Hulk Hogan death, because he's a big fan of. I mean, we
Yeah.
recently drove like 2.5 hours to meet him at a beer
Yeah, and
signing.
hey, he might have been the genesis for real American freestyle there because he was telling him about Shoot Pro, and then all of a
Yeah.
sudden got Hogan's beak wet there, and all of a sudden that real American freestyle came out.
Yeah, and I don't know if what the update is on Shoot Pro, because we never really. I don't know if anything ever came of that, or if anything's still coming
Yeah,
up.
waiting
But
for some more answers. Yep.
there's a lot of talk about it though. Brendan saying the Hulk Hogan biopic was dropped. Apparently, it's still happening by Netflix, I believe, isn't it?
There's a rumor that it's going to be revived, but it's going to be like a series instead of just a movie. So I don't know if that's true or not, but um, it's supposedly Brendan is being revived. I heard that was I think maybe yesterday or 2 days ago. I heard it was being revived.
Because I know, and this would have been interesting. Matt Damon and Ben Affleck were going to do one as well, but then Hogan's publicly said if they do this without his permission, he's going to sue them. So I guess
Interesting.
he may have got the heads up that maybe it wasn't the best narrative that they were going to take, and then we never heard anything more about it.
Interesting, because Affleck it's a big wrestling fan, or he was a big wrestling fan. It's funny he was doing media for The Accountant too, and him and John Berthnall they were talking, and they were just naming wrestlers back and forth. It was great. Like he would go, "Oh, the Nature Boy Ric Flair." And they were so like they're apparently old school wrestling fans. So Affleck probably wants to do it if he's a big fan. It seems like he is.
And they might be able to have less blowback if they tried it now,
Right,
depending on.
right. It wouldn't be in any trouble, probably. Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't know. I don't know how much. Apparently, he got 30 million, like legitimately, out of that 50 million Gawker stuff. But I don't know who would be the one that inherits that, or inherits like whatever money his percentage would be from the company at this point. Whether it would go to his wife, who hasn't been his
Or
wife
maybe
that
Nick.
long.
Yeah, or
Yeah,
maybe Nick. Yep.
he seems to
Hopefully.
be pretty close to Nick.
Yeah, Nick had a great post I saw about it. So that great stuff from Nick. A lot of guys had great tributes to the Hulkster. I don't know if you saw all of them. Vince McMahon's was
Yeah.
great. Stone Cold Steve Austin's was great. The Rock had a good one. I know Taker and Hogan didn't always get along, but that was very nice of Taker to put that out there. And obviously, without Hogan, he literally in one night put Undertaker on the map and got him over to the moon. So I mean, he's got to obviously have some big time respect for him. Shane McMahon wrote a nice something nice. Bam Margera wrote a lot of nice stuff. Kid Rock, Donald Trump, JD Vance. God, the list goes on and on and on. Devon Dudley wrote a great thing. Mark Henry wrote a good one. Mick Foley was a great one. There were so many good tributes to the Hulkster, and then there were so many celebrities like Carol Alt and all these other really, really famous people. I mean, you can't get, I guess, maybe more famous than JD Vance and Trump, but I mean, all of these famous celebrities coming out of the woodwork. Kid Rock was obviously very emotional in his. There was just so many good ones. Sylvester Stallone not only had one, he had two. It was like Hogan was on his mind. He's talking about what a good friend he was. So, a lot of great tributes out there. The Hulkster, the amount of media attention he got for the death, is more than I've ever seen anyone ever get. Period. I mean, it's just insane. Like I thought Ozzy Osbourne had a lot. This was like way more than Ozzy's. I've
Yes,
never
he
seen
did
this much
eclipse
media coverage.
Ozzy's, and I'm a huge Ozzy Osbourne
Yeah,
fan.
me too. Yeah, me
Huge,
too. Yeah.
huge. Probably one of the biggest you could find. And yes, I never thought about it, but maybe because his came second or whatever. Like it completely took the Ozzy one out of the news.
Yeah, I forget her name was Taylor Marie on Twitter, but I loved her tweet. She's like, "Man, Hogan couldn't even let Ozzy get over for for 2 days. He had to overshadow Ozzy." You know, just a funny thing about how Hogan's not putting anybody over. But I thought that was a nice little tweet out there. Just was funny. It is so true though. Hogan's coverage. I mean, it was just immense. It was crazy. I thought Ozzy, everyone was talking about it, but Hogan, man, everybody's coming out of the woodwork talking about the Hulkster. Not obviously you ignore the trolls and the weirdos and the mentally ill, but I mean like the actual positive stuff and the tributes and the good stuff. I just absolutely crazy.
Maybe it's because he had a wider appeal. Because I know a lot, like Hogan, despite some of the controversies, a lot of people. It wasn't like Ozzy was known as a bit as a partier and like was definitely represented the dark side in a lot of ways. Where Hulk Hogan did represent in a lot of ways. Say your prayers, take your vitamins. So maybe he was just a role model to a wider range of people.
Definitely, and a lot more media savvy. So, like the media will want to talk about Hogan and pick up Hogan, interview Hogan, all this other stuff, just because how savvy he was. Ozzy, they never knew what they were going to get. He's a little unpredictable. He's a little crazy. His gimmick, if you will, not real life Ozzy, but the gimmick was that he was nuts. He'd bite, heads off of bats and stuff. So Hogan, obviously, much more media friendly too. So it was easier for them to cover it and interview him throughout the years.
And it is interesting that Ozzy actually outlived the Hulkster.
Yeah, that's insane. That's
Yeah,
crazy. A guy that went to gym, right, for 60 years in a row versus a guy who never went to the gym and just drank for 60 years in a row and parties that
yeah.
outlives somebody. So it's crazy to think about stuff like that.
And I actually read Ozzy's book, and he would keep like a vial this big for several decades around his neck that contained you know what. So I know
Oh my
Hogan
God, wow.
dabbled in it, but like
Right.
he Ozzy literally had like a vial on him that would probably kill a normal person that
Yeah,
he would like take in a day.
he's living life to the fullest there. Jesus, to say the least.
So I don't know. I was hypothesizing that at least he had like a stable woman in his life that maybe like at least the last bunch of years kind of had him under control and there was less stress in his life because this stress they always say is bad for the heart.
Yeah, big time. Great to have Sky around. Obviously, a younger woman too, so he was kind of, maybe kept a little bit healthier. Just the fact, hey, you're the younger woman, it keep you going, keep your spirits up, keep you, thriving. So, hopefully, that did it. But obviously, that neck surgery that he had back in May, late May, that was just, I don't know. I
Yeah.
guess it was to ease his comfort, but I don't think his heart could withstand it after all the years. But 71, I know, crazy guy. I wish he would live a lot longer, but 71 for a pro wrestler, sad to say, is actually like a long, good life, especially a guy that was on the road basically since
Yeah.
79. You know what I mean? Or you really even before that. So it's crazy to think 71 is actually not that old, or not that young for a wrestler.
No, yeah, because I think King of Connecticut himself was saying 74 is like the average lifespan in the US for a male. So he
Yeah.
almost made that. Plus, I mean, it's part of wrestling, but to be as big as he was, you're clearly taking stuff, which also makes your organs grow bigger. And I
Yes.
mean, I don't think there's any doubt why Animal and Hawk were heart related too, and
Yes. Yep.
Hercules and a lot of those
Yep.
guys, sadly. But yeah, so Hogan, all things considered, held on quite a long time.
Yeah, I know obviously he had so many back surgeries and neck surgeries, he had all these other issues, but he did hold on for a lot longer than a lot of other wrestlers. It's just crazy to think that so many others that were a lot younger passed away way before him. Was hoping he'd live forever, but obviously that wasn't in the cards.
What did you think about that classless challenge from Paul Roma that ended up being horrible timing? Just before he dies, Paul Roma makes like some MMA challenge. Roma's like 10 years younger. Has I actually looked it up, had less than half the amount of matches Hogan has. It's like I'm going to
Weird.
challenge a guy to an MMA match that's in way worse physical condition than me and 10 years older than me. What did you think about that?
That was dumbfounding, to be honest. That was just odd. I don't know what. Maybe it was like a media attention thing. I don't know. I just thought that was a really strange kind of reaction and challenge, and don't see why you would do that or say that or whatever. But interesting. I guess he had that much heat with Hogan that he apparently wanted to fight him. But he's like a guy walking around with a walking stick at 70 years old here. I mean, it's not the smartest challenge in the world.
Yeah, because just before he did that, I actually watched one of Hogan's appearances, and you could really tell like this guy is having issues walking. It's like this guy's not going to be
Fighting,
fighting
yeah,
anyone, and it's kind
weird.
of anyway. It doesn't help Roma's reputation in the end.
No, definitely not. Very, very strange reaction there.
Ibsen wants to know: has Jesse said anything?
Not that I've seen. I haven't seen anything from Jesse the Body at all.
Michael wants to know what about Bret Hart?
Oh, you know what? I was just looking at that. I didn't see Brett make a comment yet. I'm not sure. I know he sometimes he is traveling a lot, and then I know he you could do it from traveling, but I'm just not sure of Brett. I know Brett and Hogan didn't really get along or see eye to eye, but I'm not really sure why he didn't say anything, or maybe he doesn't want to say anything. I don't know, but I haven't heard anything from Jesse or Brett.
Yeah, interesting. I guess the Brett thing is like if you're in competition with him at the top, he was known as a master politician, and so was Brett. So I mean, it's very political at the top, particularly in those days when contracts weren't always guaranteed.
My whole
And like
thing
you made,
too
yeah.
with that is okay. He's a politician. Triple H isn't a politician. He's the biggest politician of all time. Shawn Michaels wouldn't even job. He pretended to be hurt and he left. So somebody else had to win the title, so he didn't have to lose it. Austin refused to wrestle guys. Undertaker's refused to wrestle guys. I mean, it just goes on and on and on and on. Even Lesnar, who might be the most unpolitical guy, has refused to wrestle guys before. He's refused to wrestle Owens, Jinder Mahal, even though house show stuff. But I mean, he refused to wrestle them on pay per views and stuff. So it's one of those things where, yeah, everybody's political. And if you have the leverage like Hogan, you could be political and Vince will agree with you. Bottom line, if he's in WWE, Vince is the final say. If it's WCW, I know he had creative control, but obviously Sullivan and Bischoff had to agree with him to get it, down and finished and down on paper and get it done. So if Vince is agreeing with it and Hogan has the leverage, yeah, Hogan's going to be a politician. He's the biggest star of all time. He's the most famous wrestler of all time. It's the Babe Ruth of wrestling. So yeah, I think he obviously should have the right to be political. I mean, geez, he's the biggest star of all time. He made the biggest moneymaker of all time.
And one thing I'll just say about what you mentioned, Shawn Michaels giving up the title, it seems to me in this day and age, people vacate their titles way, way, way more in the past.
Yeah.
And like, give me a break. If you got a concussion or something, you don't even have to take a hit. Wrestling is predetermined. There's
Yeah.
ways of like, it's one of the reasons why titles are devalued. There's
Yes.
ways you can do a
Yes.
switch without
Yes.
putting a guy at risk. But
Yes.
I won't get too much into that. But it just reminds me, it's like, I
Yeah.
remember Dynamite Kid like being propped up just to walk to the
Yeah.
ring to like,
I
just
even
to keep the
remember
value on the title.
I even remember Regal during the Attitude Era. He was injured. I think they had him to lose the test in 3 seconds or something like that. For I forget it was the Intercontinental, European title, whatever title it was. Hardcore. No, it wasn't hardcore. It was either Intercontinental, and he just jobbed him in 3 seconds because he was hurt. Like that's what you do. Oh, I come to the ring, I have to give up the title. Like Edge to Del Rio, you just lost at Mania, and then like, what are you guys doing with this nonsense?
Yeah.
I blame Michaels though. I really do for that stuff.
Yeah. Michaels broke the seal on that.
Yeah.
MK wants to know. Oh, sorry, that was not the one I was going to put up. Brett, yeah, we already talked about that. Do you think this was the one I wanted? Will Trump or Vince show up at the funeral? And someone else asked earlier. I do think there'll probably be a private and a public funeral. But do you think there's going to be a public funeral?
I don't know, to be honest. I'm not sure. I didn't even really think about it. I'm not sure. They'll probably. I mean, 100% will be a private one. Vince, I would honestly, I would guess yes. Trump, I would guess yes as well. To be honest, it just depends on where he was doing and what's going on. So, I would guess yes.
The modern day cowboy wants to know your favorite Hulk promo of all time.
Oh my God, whew, there's so many of them. Man, that is a freaking good one. There's so many good Hulk promos. There's so many good ones with Mean Gene. Man, the WrestleMania 3 one is awesome. WrestleMania 5 one. Man, there are so many good ones. I love it. It's not really kind of a promo now that I'm thinking about it, but I guess really it is, but it isn't. But the promo, the back and forth between Hogan and Piper after Halloween Havoc 96 ends, after Hogan beats Macho Man. I just love that back and forth. Hogan hitting with one-liners because it just felt like Hogan was shooting and it felt like Piper was shooting. That might be my favorite. Now I think about it, because Hogan had a million awesome promos. My God, Jesus, the litany of them is nuts. But I don't know, maybe that one, the WrestleMania 9 one when he's talking about Yokozuna is hilarious. But I don't know, I might have to go Havoc 96 when him and Piper having that back and forth, and he tells Piper, don't forget you have to sit when you go in that bathroom, which is just a great line.
And I will have to say the Piper's Pit with Andre, although because I mean
Oh
the
God,
Piper's
yeah,
Pit you'd consider a promo,
God,
but
yeah.
there's not many like when was the last time a wrestling angle gave you chills like that and like
Yes, that was
really like
unbelievable.
got your heart? You felt it in
Unbelievable.
your heart.
So good. It's such awesome storytelling too. It's like, okay, Hogan gets this gigantic trophy. Andre gets the little one. Supposed to be his buddy. Jesse Ventura's nagging him on. Piper's a babyface at this time, but he's being very honest about what's going on here. And then all of a sudden, Heenan comes out with Andre, and you immediately know right then and there he's a heel. So Hogan's shocked. The acting is great. He rips off his chain. He's bleeding from the chain, or the cross, if you will, cut it across his chest. Andre turns on him, wants him WrestleMania 3, wants the title. He's with Heenan. It's just unbelievable. Just think about it. Hogan, Piper, Ventura, Heenan, and Andre, the five guys, they were all cutting promos. They're all in the same scene together. Just it's one of the best build up. Even though it's a
Yeah.
quick build up, it's one of the best build up too. So unbelievable.
And I guarantee you that wasn't written by a bunch of dorky writers, line by
No,
line.
all shoots and all like just bullet points. Hey, just bring this up. Boom. That's all it is.
And I even heard Piper saying, and this did add to a lot, when he's like, he's bleeding or you're bleeding. What
Yeah,
he
he was
says at
dead
the end.
serious. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
It just
Total
adds like
shoot.
that
Yep.
much more drama to it.
Yep.
But
Yeah, Piper like is invested in it. He's like, "You're bleeding, brother. You're bleeding." Like he's so into it too. Yeah, just unbelievable, man.
yeah.
That was great.
Though I know it's different these days because they're not hiring people that have decades or at least one decade experience in the territories at the top, learning how to have to draw to eat. I just don't think we're ever going to get people like that because a lot of people are having their first match on TV these days for the
Yeah,
developmental television. So
yeah,
it's just
crazy.
it's
So true.
I just don't think that era is going to be back. Sadly, we were lucky. What was your first memory of the Hulkster?
Oh my God, crazy! Like I'm so little at this point, and my dad was a fan, but it's just one of those things where you're just so little. Just was immediately fell in love with him as soon as I saw him on the television. It's one of those things where he was the first legit, like real superhero. I know you had Superman and Batman, and I love Spider and all these other guys, but he was like the legit superhero. You're like, this guy is like real. This is a real person. Like Hulk Hogan is real. Like you can grab him, touch him, feel him, all this other stuff. So that's just as soon as I saw him, I fell in love with him. My cousin had one of those huge standees that was like life size of Hulk. It was one of those things where just fell in love with him as soon as I saw him. My first real memory is basically kind of like Orndorff turning on him, and then his feud with Bundy. So like I feel like when you first kind of start really, I guess, remembering stuff, probably just around 4 years old or so. But I remember liking him all the way up. My mom was even said this recently. She's like, for some reason, you just fell in love with the Hulkster, and they kind of fell in love with wrestling too, because I've been a fan ever since. But she was like, that was the first like superhero you ever had, besides my dad. Really, it was like the first guy you really kind of have as like your idol or your icon, and kind of just want to follow him and be him. And then for some reason always hated Orndorff and Bundy, but that's because when I was a kid, they were the first ones to kind of attack Hogan and beat Hogan that I can really, really remember. I went back and obviously watched every feud he ever had. Iron Sheik, of course, included, but that was really my first memory, just seeing him on TV, falling in love with him, and then hating Orndorff and Bundy for attacking him.
Yeah, I remember what actually got me interested in wrestling was my mom was babysitting this kid, and he brought over the Saturday night's main event cassette where the Mega Powers exploded,
Oh, wow.
and like
Nice.
just the drama of that. I suddenly just became very interested in wrestling, and then as you mentioned, 4 months later, they take me to see it in real life, and it's like, wait a minute, these are real people. And then I was absolutely hooked because it's not like any other of your heroes. You could actually come to see them when they come to town every 3 months and physically touch them.
Yep. It was unbelievable, like to be that young. And I remember seeing like the bushwhackers in person, they're licking women in front of me. And it's just such a cool experience. My dad's friend is like almost fist fighting with Iron Mike Sharp. They're yelling at each other. Just those are some just all great, awesome memory. But you're mentioning obviously the Mega Powers explode. Man, when the Mega Powers formed him and Savage, unbelievable, just awesome business. But to have that really kind of be a almost over a year long feud, really a couple year long feud, really. I mean, 2 years plus of them like teaming, and then the culmination of WrestleMania 5 and the continuation of the feud, SummerSlam, no holds barred, the match, the movie, and then the big at Saturday night's main event with Buster Douglas. I mean, just really, if you think about it, late 87 to early 1990, that's kind of a really main feud for the WWF, and it's the biggest box office for WWF, even more than Hogan Andre. They made so much money. But that breakup, the setup, Miss Elizabeth, the Twin Towers, bridging the feud, between when Hogan and Savage team and then when Hogan and Savage wrestle at WrestleMania 5. That's just, to me, one of the best feuds of all time, if not the greatest feud of all time. Just such great stuff. Hogan, you got lust in your eyes. Hogan, you got lust in your eyes from Miss Elizabeth. Him turning on Hogan and beating the hell out of him. So, so good. Everything about that feud is just one of the best, if not the greatest feud of all time.
And the interesting thing is, like, I know in 1986, when I did research, the biggest event ever in my town of Ottawa was an 86 match at the CFL Stadium with Hogan and Macho Man just having a house show match. What
Yep.
it's like they had a whole feud like before teaming up, then did another breakup feud that did just as good, if not better. Then they had the whole WCW stuff. So you're
Yeah.
right. It could be one of the most successful feuds of all time. Just if you
And,
think about how long it
yeah.
lasted.
And there's some random like matches from like 85, 86, just in like Detroit, MSG. There's just some random Hogan Savage matches that you can kind of say that's like the continuation of their feud. They had a feud earlier. So there's just some awesome hidden gem matches out there as well that they had. Maybe some of their best matches were in those early years too. Just awesome stuff. Hogan and Savage, the chemistry, just unbelievable. Crazy that Savage really never got the pinfall victory over the Hulkster, but he has beaten him over in Canada and DQ a bunch.
Yeah, definitely a great feud though, and I know Macho Man was a lot about money, so he probably didn't care
No, not
too
at
too
all. Yeah,
much.
it's all business. Yeah, he doesn't care.
Did you ever see any of the Hogan Flair MSG matches? Final Boss Engage says they were amazing.
I did like them. I saw a bunch. I taped a bunch of them. I watched them again over the years. I always thought they were great stuff. I'm just kind of always wondering why Hogan Flair wasn't main event of WrestleMania 8. It probably should have been. I talked to JJ Dillon about it. He said because they did a bunch of house shows and the returns kept being less and less and less. Well, that's why to me you don't do all the house shows with them. You make the match feel more special so people pay to see it because they haven't seen it before. And it was supposed to be this great match where it's the best of the NWA, the best of WCW versus the best of the WWF, and you have them go off. WCW did much better with Flair and Hogan than WWF did. I feel like they left a lot of money on the table, a lot of food on the table. They left there with Hogan and Flair. But the MSG matches were good. They had a good match in Oakland. I mean, they had a good match in a bunch of places.
Yeah, they definitely screwed up because if you look at how they did the Flair versus Savage, that was one of the best build-ups ever, according to me as a kid. They built that up perfectly. But
Yep.
for the house show matches, it's like, let's just throw them out there with pretty much no build-up other than a couple promos here and there. If they had done an angle as good as the Macho Man Elizabeth Flair one, of course it could have drawn well.
It was strange too because you kind of knew Hogan was on his way out. He was going to be filming movies. He's going to be doing all this other stuff. So I don't know. It was kind of a strange thing to do that, but it did make sense though with the Sid feud. So I mean, they could have went either way. I just would have preferred Hogan Flair as a main event of WrestleMania. It would have been unbelievable.
That Sid WrestleMania 8 finish must have been the worst finish of any of the early WrestleManias, I
Oh,
think. That was
I was
just
gonna
horrible.
say, don't say of all time because WrestleMania 41 is the worst finish of all time for WrestleMania, without a doubt. I
Which
mean,
one
Travis
was
Scott,
that? Which one was that?
Travis
Sorry.
Scott, Travis Scott. That
Oh
was so bad.
God.
That was the worst.
I didn't see
Uh,
it, but
oh
I
God,
mean
don't.
now Travis Scott isn't even there, so it's
Yeah.
like
Oh yeah. Yeah. No one. Nobody is happy with him. That was
yeah.
brutal. That was the worst of,
Let's
of the
bring this
early
guy
of the
in
early
that
days. Yes.
yeah, because like let's bring a guy in that like 90% of the people don't know who he is. Put him in this Cena thing, and then let's never use Rock again.
Yeah, we're
And then
obviously supposed to be the Rock. Like the music hits, and this idiot comes out who weighs 145 pounds, soaking wet. That was brutal. Oh my God, that was so bad. If you had Logan Paul in that spot, I wouldn't even have minded because then it's like a real wrestler, a guy who can actually do some damage. Then they realized 2 months later, oh, we could have used Logan Paul, so he's in that tag match instead of Travis Scott of Money in the Bank. So it just so bad, so dumb. I don't know who is obviously it's Triple H, but who in the right mind is telling Triple H to use Travis Scott and this guy's famous, blah blah blah. Just absolutely embarrassing. That was so bad. But as far as the early WrestleManias, I do hate that one with Hogan Sid, just as far as the finish thinking. But to be honest, Warrior makes up for it because that was shocking as all hell and awesome. And that when his music hits and that run to the ring, that was awesome. So he kind of makes up for a horrible finish. Last year WrestleMania, there's no making up for that. Cena without The Rock is worthless and useless. I mean, Jesus, Travis Scott, that's so bad.
Yeah, I keep hearing, or I saw the promo for this WWE creative show, WWE Unreal, that's coming
Unreal.
out. And like the way they're talking about it, oh, we came up with the greatest angle ever, and we're going to show you behind the scenes. You can officially say that angle is a flop. It's been a complete flop because Cena is still getting cheered. How is he a
Well,
heel at all? He's cheered more than anyone he wrestles.
that's a different story for a different day. But he's
Yeah,
horrible as a heel, so like,
yeah.
just give up on it. It's not working. It hasn't worked. So yeah, you got to give up on it.
We're not in the Hogan days. Someone wants to know, what do you think was Hogan's best acting work, not including Rocky 3?
Oh, I love Rocky 3. Honestly, I love that surprise appearance, the cameo, if you will, in Gremlins. I thought that was great. I love that. And I know we mentioned it before, but I like Thunder in Paradise. I was a big fan of Thunder in Paradise. I thought that was great. I feel like Hogan, No Holds Barred, it kind of gets ripped on, but I love it. I think he does a great job in No Holds Barred. Suburban Commando is good. Mr. Nanny is good. Um, those movies with Carl Weathers, you know, about the mountain there, Skull Mountain, and just there's I don't know, there's some good stuff. I know there's some of them are campy and stupid, but that they're kind of supposed to be. They're not really supposed to be this dramatic, great acting and all this other stuff. They are what they are. They're kind of for like a younger audience or kind of like just a straight up action film. So those are the ones I like. I love No Holds Barred, and Gremlins too is just so funny because it's just a random like Hogan's here cameo. I love that.
Someone's asking about No Holds Barred. I've literally seen No
Yes.
Holds Barred probably 30 times, and I'm
Yeah,
not
I'm a huge
exaggerating.
fan. I'm a huge fan of it. I love it. It's funny. The last time I met Hulk, I found this awesome random picture of it was a No Holds Barred. It's like Brel and it's Zeus or whatever, and he's he's on. He's like, "Oh, where'd you get this, brother?" And I was like, "I found it online." Just random. I don't know why I wanted him to sign that, but I was like, "That's a." Because I have like 10 other Hogan autographs, so I was like, "Might as well get something cool, something random."
Yeah, I had seen the whole Holds Barred so many times when I was a kid. Then I remember, like around 2007. Here's a funny story. Before YouTube, and now it's easy to find. But like, some girl that I was with, having sex with, was like, "Hey, do you mind going to my ex's house to pick up some of my stuff with me? He's a little bit violent or whatever." So I'm like, "Okay, sure. This seems uncomfortable, but sure." And I go, and he had a copy of No Holds Barred,
Oh my
and I
god.
have to admit, I took the VHS, and I hadn't seen it in so many years. When I got it home, I like watched it like numerous times in a row. I was such a big fan of it. But now it's even on Tubi. I think it's even on YouTube too. So it's made a lot of money, I think, over the years.
That's the funny part about it. When people kind of rip on it, like, "Oh, it just broke even at the theaters." No, you got to count the DVD sales and the VHS sales. So I love that movie, and I feel like it served its purpose, and it's perfectly fine for exactly what it is. I love it. I think it's great.
Yeah, the one that I think may be his worst is, I tried to rewatch Santa with Muscles at Christmas because I
Not
was like,
great.
I'm going to
Not
review
great.
this.
Yeah.
I could not make it
Yep.
through. But yeah, Mr. Nanny I saw in theaters, Suburban Commando I saw
Suburban
too,
Commando. Yep. Awesome. Yep.
and like, and Thunder in Paradise. It's Baywatch but with fighting and with wrestlers. So as a
Yes.
7 or 8 year old kid, I loved it. And it aired right after Wrestling Challenge where I was. So it's like, it was really cool. I have great memories of like Saturday nights. It was 5 o'clock Wrestling Challenge, then 6 to 7 Thunder in Paradise. So it's like the Saturday night, my parents would make a different dinner, like it'd be burgers or pizza or tacos, and I got to watch that block of Hulk Hogan stuff. So
Yeah, and when you think about it too, it's like you're watching it for little cameos, like what Sting is a villain, Jim Neidhart, Brutus Beefcake, Giant Gonzalez. Thunder in Paradise was cool. I know. I was always a big fan of it. I loved it.
yeah, for sure. And yeah, you see Brutus Beefcake in the Assault on Devil's Island one too, I
Yes,
think
Assault
maybe.
on Devil's Island. Which I was. Yep, yep. That's a great one. Um, there's another one too. Is it? Damn it. There's a second one that they made of those two. Oh, Assault on Death Mountain is the second one, and I know maybe some other people don't like it, but I thought it was great. I liked it, and he does make a great appearance in Muppets in Space as well.
I probably saw that so long ago I don't even remember, but I'm sure it might be worth re-looking up. Did JJ Dillon make a statement? I think JJ's health has not been good lately. I've heard that from a couple of people close to him, so I
Yeah,
don't
he did
know.
a signing with a buddy of mine. I want to say maybe a year ago or so, and his health is definitely declining. He's not. I don't think he's doing great. I don't think he's doing. I'm not going to say he's doing terrible, but I just think his health was declining a bit.
Yeah, because I know the last time, and not that we were good friends or anything, but I have run into him a bunch of times. And the last time I ran into him, he had no recollection at all who I was, and I had done a 3 hour interview with him, so it's not like,
Oh wow. Okay.
yeah. He's like, I really don't remember. Like I did a 3 hour interview with you, and I was with you
Right.
quite a bit that day. Who knows? Some of these guys just don't want to put you over.
That is true too. That is true.
Yeah, it seemed like Steve Kern, for instance. I like some of these guys are just assholes. It's like Steve Kern agented one of my matches. I've done a couple interviews with him, and it's like when I met him in one person once, it's like they make a point. No, I don't remember you at all. It's like okay, I'll at least pretend to remember somebody.
Right. Right.
It's like, are you actually getting off by saying you don't remember me? Because I don't know.
Right.
Because I had
Yeah.
good experiences with you,
Yeah.
but whatever. I just find it's almost like it's a little strange. Some wrestlers are nicer than others. Knobs was one wrestler I didn't like in my interaction with him. I don't know if how close Hogan and Knobs were at the end. Did they remain friends? Because I know for various points they had lost their friendship
No,
as
no, they
well.
weren't because he was still doing until his health issues. He was doing like signings and stuff at Hogan's Beat Shop. Like whenever Hogan would have stuff, like he Knobs would show up and stuff, and he would be there, literally sometimes signing. Like I remember the one time I went, God, 2 years ago, Knobs he was there. He was signing like his own stuff. Like Hogan was like, "Don't forget to see Knobs, brother." Like always putting over his friends. Like that's one thing. He's the most loyal guy. I definitely wrestling wise, maybe the most loyal wrestler I've ever heard of. He would literally bring Knobs to signings, bring Jimmy Hart to the signings, and try to get them to have some money based off people that are there to see Hulk. So I mean, always, always, it's just crazy to me. Just always putting over his friends and getting his friends jobs and money and main events and everything else. People say, "Oh, that's bad," and maybe loyal to a fault, but come on. I mean, I think that's awesome. If you're Hogan's friend and he's doing that for you, I think it's unbelievable.
And for final boss engage, I can honestly say this, and I like The Rock too. Like he's one of the people that can still cause electricity, even
Mm.
though he breaks kayfabe way too much and has a massive ego. Now he's earned his ego, but like this is
Yeah.
legitimate. The only movie I really ever liked of The Rock's was The Rundown, or no, Walking Tall. Walking Tall was the one
Oh,
I really
I like
liked.
Rundown.
Yeah, but it was like the first couple that I liked. Those were two of my favorite. But it's like I never watched any of them 30 times like I did Hulk Hogan. And for some reason,
Right.
I'd rather watch an old episode of Thunder in Paradise than like for instance, I tried to watch Pain and Gain with Mark Wahlberg that they have on YouTube the other day, and it's like after half an hour, I know I got a short attention span, but I'm like, I don't want to watch the rest of this movie. So it's like The Rock definitely had more success and might be a better actor overall. But I mean, Terry Funk, I like his stuff. I'll rewatch something
Yeah.
just for
Yeah.
Terry. But I don't know. The Rock, I don't have the same love of his movies.
Something about the Hulkster. And the thing is, too, when you're The Rock, like you can kind of get away with playing another character and being like a different guy. Hogan is so synonymous with Hogan, it's actually hard to believe that he's somebody else. You know what I mean? I know it kind of doesn't make sense maybe to some, but he's just so Hogan that it's kind of hard for him to be anybody else. It's a weird, weird, weird thing. Like he's just so famous and popular as Hulk as the Hulkster. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yes, and maybe that is one route he should have gone more in, like not trying. And he did pretty much. He was in Three Ninjas too, as well. One of the five
Yeah. Oh
minute
yeah.
minute. That
Yep.
was a good
Yep.
one too. And I remember I would go see these. Uh, just for the people that don't think I'm a fan of his, just because I interview people that don't necessarily like him doesn't mean that I didn't go see all of his movies. And
Right.
I definitely am a fan of his. Jay Leo wants to know the relationship between Hogan and the Warrior. Another one, another guy that was in competition with him that had a rocky relationship up and down over the years.
Yeah, definitely up and down. But like, God, the day, a few days before Warrior passed, they kind of made amends and shook hands and apologized to each other and kind of, gave a big hug and said much love. So seemed like towards the end, and obviously the end of Warrior's life, it seemed like they made up and kind of forgave each other.
Warrior, I don't even, did Warrior make it to 60?
I want to say 55. I want to say Warrior.
Yeah, he did not. Like Warrior went out. Some of these guys have real storybook endings. Like Warrior, you couldn't have asked for a better way if you're gonna pass, other than he died way too young. But again, all the supplements. Sadly, they have a consequence. Um, that's just a sad reality of it. But like Ozzy, for instance, playing that concert 3 weeks ago and then passing. It's too bad Hogan couldn't have had a better send off. That's the only thing
Yep.
sad about it. But he's getting way more love than hate these days overall.
Yeah, kind of as it should be. Because to be honest, are we even here talking right now? You know what I mean? Doing podcasts if it's not for the Hulkster. I know maybe that might be crazy to say, but if you think about it, I don't know. It's weird. And I know Meltzer kind of even admitted, like, "Hey, Dave, would you even be?" He's like, "I'd probably be covering something else." Basically, kind of even saying like, Hogan, had a huge impact.
Well, like I heard Meltzer saying, like some of the others that would have potentially had Hogan's spot if it wasn't Hogan was like maybe Slaughter, Snuka, or Dusty, and it's like I don't know if any of them would have had the broad appeal
Definitely
that
not.
Hogan did, even though even they said Kerry Von Erich could have had it, but he wouldn't have lasted long if he'd been given that opportunity, just with all of his demons.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
Slaughter was over huge for a while around the time of Hogan, but he didn't have the larger than life look. He had the GI Joe connection. Snuka, sadly, he was like had a crazy side to him. So
Yes. Yep.
and he wasn't
Yeah.
that
There's no.
great
They,
at
they were saying
interviews.
Dusty too, maybe, but yeah, nobody would have been the global, phenomenon, the global star of a Hogan. Nobody had that charisma. Definitely not.
Dusty was definitely great at promos, but for the people saying Vince would have got behind Dusty like that, I just have a hard time believing that because even when Dusty came over, he never gave Dusty a mega push. Like he could have done better with Dusty, in my opinion.
Oh, for sure. He definitely should have. I just don't. Yeah, I don't think so. And the crazy thing is, it took Vince this long to admit that Hulk was the GOAT, the greatest superstar of all time, for some reason, which is laughable at best. I know it's a gimmick, but pretending Cena was for a while, pretending Austin was for a while. I mean, just complete silliness and,
Yeah.
and just
Austin
insanity. He
didn't have
finally admitted it.
longevity.
No, no, of
Sadly, I
course.
mean, we all
Of
love
course.
Austin
Yep.
as far as like and he will draw again if he has another match, but like his actual time as
But
a sellout guy
he's not on
wasn't that long.
Hogan's. Yeah, he's not on
No.
Hogan's level, not even close. And which is insane to say because I think Austin might be the second greatest draw of all time. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I just don't think anybody even um, like
And I think
comes
some
close.
you even mentioned it with Sullivan, like that where Austin turned down wrestling Hogan. It's like once Hogan was it's funny actually because Bischoff, I remember on Off the Record saying Austin was a big fish in a small pond, and everyone was like, no, 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 no. Well, when all the WCW guys came to WWE, where did Austin go?
Yeah, he
Like
was
he
not
like
happy.
disappeared.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
he ended up walking out not that long after. But man, do you think he regrets it now?
Oh
He
yeah.
had a great tribute to Hogan. He's liking all of these pro Hogan tweets and tributes and stuff. So I feel like he's probably looking back like, man, I wish I worked at MF or like I wish I worked that guy because you give that shot to the Rock and obviously Rock loves Hogan and Hogan loves Rock and Hogan puts him over and that match is arguably the greatest WrestleMania match of all time, arguably one of the most famous matches of all time, maybe the greatest crowd reaction and they just released a crowd reaction minus the audio from the commentators. So it's even louder. If anybody's seen that, that would be just put that out. Awesome. It's literally deafening. And they have the camera right by the ring, just insane. But you imagine Austin thinking to himself, "Man, I gave that up. That could have been me. Just would have been unbelievable." Just and he gave
Yeah.
that spot up to the Rock, and Rock's like, "I want it. I want the main event, and let's do it." And Hogan was
That's
into it.
my favorite Rock match by far. I don't
Mhm.
even I've as much as I
Yes.
like the Rock, that's my favorite. There's not even a second
Yes, of
close.
course.
Like,
Yep.
that was by far his best match. Just
Yep.
the
And he
I
has
don't
awesome
know.
WrestleMania main events against Steve Austin, but I like the Hogan
Yeah.
one better.
Could they even reproduce that crowd with any of the modern guys? I don't know.
You know, I was thinking about that's crazy, but I was at WrestleMania 40, Cody versus Roman. That crowd reaction, I know obviously they built it up slowly throughout the whole night for the pops, for the surprise guys, and obviously that was building up the heat for that. But that was an awesome reaction. I didn't think we would get like a reaction I felt when I was at WrestleMania 15 when Austin won and all this other stuff and Hogan's surprise return to MSG in 2005. There I was at where literally my ears popped and I could barely hear anything. It was just like I don't know if I was going to get that again. And WrestleMania 40, got to give it props. Hogan Roman, huge reaction to that match.
And Ivan wants us to talk about the Hollywood Hogan
Oh,
gimmick. I
the
mean,
greatest heel gimmick of all time. It's funny, the greatest babyface of all time is Hogan. To me, the greatest heel of all time is Hollywood Hulk Hogan. Changed the business, the NWO, that was just insane. If you think about it, okay, Paul Nash came in, create the NWO, that's great. You got Hogan turning heel, that just blew the roof off. I mean, you were having coverage in newspapers saying Hulk Hogan turned bad, Hulk Hogan is now a heel, and Hulk Hogan is a
and he
bad guy. I
was
mean, it was,
booed. Unlike Cena, they were
yes.
actually booing him.
So that's the thing too. Cena, you had the blueprint of how to execute a legendary quote unquote heel turn. You had the Hogan stuff. It was great. He wasn't hulking up anymore. He was acting like a chicken shit. He was cutting awesome promos. He was doing that awesome heel, villain laugh that he loved to do, and not anymore, and all that silly Hogan stuff. The spray paint, him spray painting the belt. You had the blueprint, and you blew it. But that's a different story for a different day. As far as Hogan, greatest heel turn of all time. There's no doubt about it. Probably the greatest heel. And I know Vince is a great heel. I know Flair is a great heel. There's all these Bret Hart in '97 was an awesome heel, but I got to go Hollywood Hogan. That literally changed the business. Without that heel turn, without the NWO, there's no Attitude Era. There's no Stone Cold Steve Austin. There's no heel Vince McMahon, which, by the way, is a copy of heel Eric Bischoff, which comes from the NWO and comes from Hulk Hogan. I mean, there's not all this stuff doesn't happen. It doesn't create the money anymore. So Hogan literally set it off. I mean, just it's unbelievable. And Hollywood Hulk Hogan is just awesome.
Yeah, it definitely is. And the other thing is, when he turned heel, the people that kind of didn't like him and thought he was cheesy were kind of won over by him. Where with
Yeah.
Cena, the
Yeah.
people that didn't like him as a face still don't like him as a heel.
Yep.
And he's
And
still being a face on social media.
he's an idiot.
So
That's
how the
different.
hell are we supposed to even
Not
take it
to
serious?
say anything bad, but I'm just like, that's just idiotic. I just don't like the way he's handled it at all. But do you remember that awesome wig that he had in that the Three Ninjas movie too that he wore at
Yeah.
Halloween Havoc '96? That was even great for the heel because people were like, "Come on, you're bald!" Like they were really getting mad at him that he was pretending that he had hair. He looks like this little simple, stupid stuff.
Yeah, no,
Oh
and I
yes,
mean, it rejuvenated
Arcade
the
Night. I
wrestling
love.
business. I mean, that's a thing that people don't really talk about. Like, yeah, you can say it's booming these days, but there's really hardly any house shows. AEW's drawing flies. WWE's only doing 2 shows a week. They were having like legitimate sellouts that were almost 18,000 to 20,000 for WWE and WCW back then, and the house shows were getting like 15,000 plus too a lot of the times.
And you got to
So,
credit Hogan not only for the '80s boom period, but you got to credit him for the '90s boom period as well. And Savage, I love that Halloween Havoc '96 match. I know people, oh, no, it's great. The crowd reaction is great. The finish is great. So perfect with Nick Patrick. Everything is so good there. Starcade '96, so underrated, so underappreciated. Him and Piper is great. They kill each other in that match. They're really going all at it. Just great stuff. Great commitment there by Hogan losing to Piper at Starcade. Just he's such a damn good heel, and that was such a good run. And Piper coming in, that was kind of the nail in the coffin for WWF for 2 years because that I know they were on a roll anyway with the NWO, but when Piper comes in, you could literally check the ratings. I mean, that just skyrocketed in pay-per-view numbers. That helped big time. And Hogan's putting over Piper in his first real match in WCW there. So great job by Hogan. And NWO is the best. I love the Hogan era and I love Hulkamania and all that stuff, but that NWO period is so damn good. And he's responsible for both.
and the cool people in the crowd that you just don't see anymore. Like you could, it's like college kids. There's hotter
Yeah,
girls in the crowd. There's people just having fun in the crowd. Now it's people our age. A lot of them. It's like all
yeah.
middle aged
We're,
men.
we're reliving the glory days of Hulkster. That's what we're trying to do. Yeah,
Yeah, but it's sadly, other than though they can bring it back here and there, but what's I mean, I like John Cena is one of the rabbits they have in their hat, but they're running out of. I mean, Hogan's dead now. A lot of people are talking about this. Like some people still just follow wrestling because I mean we're both at the news. A lot of people will say, "What's Hulk Hogan up to these days?"
yeah, yep.
Are they even going to ask me this anymore? Like a lot of people just follow it because they want to know who he's affiliated with, what he's been up to. But after he's dead, I mean, it's just
They gotta maybe pull that hat with Rock or Brock Lesnar if
yeah,
they can bring him back.
yeah. Well, he's still under contract from everything I've
Yeah. Oh,
read.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's paused or whatever. Yeah. So he'll be under contract
Yeah,
for a long time. Yeah.
yeah. Well, I mean, Lesnar could rejuvenate it a bit. Definitely the Rock, considering the amount of money he what is it like 65 grand million in stock. You would think he would want to
Oh,
do a
yeah.
little bit more, but it's
Yeah.
almost like he wanted to sabotage Cena.
Honestly, I feel like in years to come, we're going to find out what happened there. Not to sabotage Cena. I think to maybe sabotage Triple H because he's like, all right, you have Cena. All right, I'll step back without knowing that Cena's not as big a star as him, knowing that people think Cena's like, this here and Rocket is like the king of the mountain. So I think it was almost like him proving and maybe crapping on H a little bit there. Like, hey, okay, you can have Cena. I'll step back. And then realizing it's not quite the same.
Yeah, because he made a point after WrestleMania to be like, I was at home watching it. It's like
Yes,
it's not
yeah.
like he was doing
I was
anything.
watching that. I was like, "What? You were at home? Like, what? Why the hell weren't you there?" That was so bad. Oh
Yeah, you're right. That's got to be one. I mean, this is all going to catch up with them. It's like the end of WCW. It didn't catch up right away once it started getting bad. It took a while. And then, but the other thing with Hogan that I'm thinking about, I'm not a fan of all the in-ring interviews where they're just talking so long. But in the NWO and Attitude Era, they were more realistic. They were throwing like shoot comments out
yeah,
at the other
yes,
companies, and it was
yes,
just more interesting. And they were cool because it didn't feel scripted. I mean, some of the times Hall and Nash were drunk. Hogan, we
yeah,
always hear he's drinking with Macho Man in the back. So like
yep,
they're coming into these in-ring promos buzzed and firing shots, but like you just don't see in-ring promos these days that are like cool. Like I like the stupid John Cena pipe bomb thing. I don't mean to crap on John Cena. That just to me, it's like why all I'm thinking about is why is CM Punk lying
laid
there
out for
for
10
14
minutes.
minutes when
Yeah,
no one lies down that long from a table anymore, and he's just taking all these insults.
even Hogan. Remember when? Obviously, as a punishment to Hall and Nash, they fired Waltman, and he's like, he couldn't cut the mustard, brother. You know what I mean? Like, kind of making fun of
Yeah.
him. And then Waltman, when he got to WWF, he said that Bischoff was a Hogan ass kicker, and that Hogan didn't have it. Like, it was just awesome because they were shooting. I mean, they were really shooting at each other back and forth. It was great.
Yeah, or Jarrett, even though he flopped in that WWE run, when he came in and gave his speech and threw all these
Oh,
shots at
that was
NWO,
so good.
it was
That was
so
great.
much better because that was just you can tell they're reciting lines that they've been told,
Yeah.
and it's just I it's sad. So what's your main memories of Hogan going to be, and where if you narrowed it down to three of his greatest matches, what would those top three be?
To me, he's the Babe Ruth of wrestling, the goat of wrestling. My memory is literally made me fall in love with wrestling. He's the god. I mean, he's literally the reason why I'm still a fan. I mean, you see all the Hogan stuff behind me, just huge love flowing fan of the Hulkster. He is the freaking best. He's the greatest, the nicest wrestler I've ever met. I've met thousands. Not only have interviewed thousands, I've met thousands of wrestlers. He is the absolute nicest. I met him about 5 times. He is the best each and every time. And he's the most famous I've ever met either. So think about that. Remarkably, the most famous guy I've ever met is the nicest guy I ever met. So when you ever hear all this nonsense, you got to trust real people that actually met him, that know him, that that had experiences with him, not trolls and all these other weirdos and mentally ill. You got to go with the people that know him, love him, trust him, and met him and have real life experiences with him. He is just, to me, the absolute GOAT. Three best matches, and maybe it's not best, but maybe three you should definitely check out. And what I already did, I wanted to rewatch them because they're three of my favorites. WrestleMania 3 versus Andre the Giant. The crowd is awesome. It's the most monumental match of all time. Literally set wrestling into the next stratosphere. The crowd's unbelievable. WrestleMania 18 with The Rock, another awesome thing. Just kind of showed that he still had it in 2002 after 20 years, in WWF, really, from 84, you think about it, to 2002. He's still got it, still best, still getting the crowd reaction, still getting the raise pop. And just a random one here, June 3rd, 1991, Desert Storm match, Madison Square Garden versus Sergeant Slaughter. So good. It's just a brutal, brutal brawl. Maybe a throwback to Slaughter's days with Pat Patterson or the Iron Sheik and those crazy brawls he had. And he had one with Hogan, 91 Desert Storm, which was supposed to be the original main event of SummerSlam 91. And it should have been, because that was awesome.
Yes.
And quite a freaking match.
Yeah, and the tag team match really wasn't any
Right.
good, to be
Anything
honest
to
with
write
you.
home about. There's so many other ones. I mean, Savage at WrestleMania 5, Savage with Buster Douglas, the referee for Tonight's Main Event. I mean, just love those. Anything with Savage is awesome. Warrior WrestleMania 6. Bundy, I love Bundy WrestleMania 2. So many damn good ones. He
What
was
I
amazing.
remember of 5 and 6 is literally everybody the next day at school was talking about the finishes of 5 and 6,
Yes.
which I never heard it happen since, even in the Attitude Era about pay-per-view. People would talk about stuff all the time, but like I remember people were so focused
We were
on
literally
who was going to win, Hogan and
invested.
Savage, or who was going to
Yep.
win, Hogan versus Warrior.
You were literally invested as a kid. It was like a sport, like a real sport. Like you were invested in who won and who lost.
And someone says Hogan was one of the biggest celebrities of the 80s. And yeah, I mean, we
Definitely.
have like Batista, The Rock, and Cena as wrestler celebrities now. But I mean, Reigns has done a few and he's not finished yet. I don't think he could still get there. Brock Lesnar has kind of transcended wrestling, but I don't think, other than The Rock, any of them are to the level of celebrity of
Hogan's in
of
the
Hogan.
lexicon. He's a part of the pop culture. He's mainstream to the core.
And I think they did like a year ago. They questioned 100 people on the street. They named 5 wrestlers. It was like The Rock, Ric Flair, Macho Man.
Yeah, Hulk Hogan.
It's like
Yeah,
John
Iron
Cena.
Sheik. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like all the old people. It's like they're just not becoming as big celebrities now. But I can tell you too, as far as Hogan being nice, I remember when I called him one day, and I was like, Lanny gave me his number because he was there. He had control in TNA, and he was going to at least pitch me to TNA, and I'm like, Lanny,
Yep.
you want me to actually call him? Like, because you can
that's
imagine,
awesome. Yeah.
like, I'm like, and Lanny's like, oh no, he said you could call him. And I remember I had the number for like a couple days, and I was so scared to call him. And then I pulled into like a bank parking lot one day. I'm like, okay, I think I've gathered the guts to call him. And I was shocked that he answered, and like he talked to me for like 10 or 12 minutes, and he didn't blow me off.
Oh, awesome.
And I was shocked about it. And then I did meet him with Billy Graham about a year later, emailed him a couple times about Billy Graham. Then, as I said, I don't think he liked me in the end because of some of the shoot interview. But I can tell you that, like, I was shocked that, like, he took a good 12 minutes of talking to me.
Unbelievable. Awesome.
So, I mean, how many guys? I know, granted, he wasn't at, like, one of his peaks. That was 2012, I believe. But it was like, wow, he actually answered, and he didn't, like, I was so nervous calling him. And, like, he just made me comfortable talking to him right away. So.
He's the best. He's like that. He is the best, or was the best.
All right, John. Well, that makes me sad, so I'll let you close this off.
Man, Hulk Hogan, the all-time GOAT, the greatest, the icon, the legend, the god, the Babe Ruth of wrestling. Thank you for the memories. R.I.P. Hulkster. R.I.P. the immortal Hulk Hogan.